What's up guys, Skyt here, welcome back to our channel. This is the updated 2025 version of my full Dear ImGui C++ course. It's a complete remake of the 2024 guide with updated tools, better structure and fresh examples. In this video you will learn everything you need to get started with ImGui. We're gonna learn how to set up Visual Studio properly, we're gonna learn how to install DirectX and .NET, and we're gonna run the ImGui Demo and understand basic things like ImVector4, ImColor, window flags, and common UI elements like buttons, checkboxes, sliders, and much more. We'll also go through styling your UI, and I'll show you how to draw your own custom shapes, and many things like theme elements and more. By the end of the video, you'll have a solid foundation to start building your own ImGui UIs, tools or overlays, and much more. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, leave a like if this helps you out, and check out the channel memberships for access to code from all the videos and direct help from me and the team. You can also join our Discord server if you have any questions or want to connect with other devs. So, without further ado, let's get started and be prepared. This is gonna be quite a long video. First things first, we gotta install Visual Studio. I'm gonna have chapters in the descriptions if you want to skip over things you already done, but I suggest if you have time, you should follow the whole video without skipping parts in order to get the full experience. So you're gonna search Visual Studio, just go into the description where I will provide all the code needed and all the the websites and all the downloads, but you can also search Visual Studio and go to their website visualstudio.microsoft.com, and you're gonna click download Visual Studio. What this will do is it's gonna download this Visual Studio installer, and what you're looking for here is the Visual Studio Community 2022, which I already have downloaded. You're gonna have the option to download it. I will click modify, and the experience, the things should look the same. So first things you will see here is under workloads, many pre-built packages. And what you will need here to check will be .NET desktop development. It will be desktop development with C++, and it will be game development with C++. This is the most important one because it contains DirectX stuff. So this is the three important things you need: desktop development with C++ and game development with C++. And .NET desktop development, it contains, even though we are not going to work in C#, it contains some useful stuff. We'll see later. Moving on to individual components, here we need .NET runtime, which you can search for it. Best if you install the latest one. So I have installed .NET 9.8 runtime. We might also need 5.0 for some stuff, but that we'll see later. Then we need some build tools, and we are gonna search for 143 are the latest one, and you're gonna get C++ modules for 143 build tools, and you're also gonna get C++ CDI support for 143 build tools. Make sure you have the latest stuff, and also you have them right here if you want to check them directly. In this side you're gonna have them in the description as well. The MSVC VS 2022 C++ -64 x86 build tools, again 143 build tools. And the last thing, we need an SDK, and you're gonna get the Windows 10 or 11 SDK based on your situation. So Windows SDK here. I have both of them because I used to work on Windows 10, but you should install the latest Windows 11 or Windows 10 SDK, as well as Performance Toolkit, and I don't think you need the C runtime. Anyways, after you've done this language pack, well, English, I don't think you need something else. And installation locations, you can change where Visual Studio installs the files, but I suggest you leave them default if you have the drive space. So after we've done this, we need to install the DirectX frameworks, and For this, again, you have the link in the description, but we're gonna search DirectX June 10, 2010 here, and we're gonna download the DirectX and user runtimes from June 2010. We're gonna need this because I'm going to be working and teaching today by using ImGui on DirectX 11. I feel like it's the best for now, but you can choose a different backend, and for that things will be similar but not exactly the same. Anyways, you're gonna select your language, English here, you're gonna click download. You will get this exe which you will open. I obviously already have it installed, but there's no harm in going to the process. You're gonna get these terms of service. As with any program, you're gonna click yes. You can type the location where you want to place the extracted files, and after that, simply, you should do this in your Visual Studio, folder. I'm not sure where it is, either in where you installed it or by default in program files or whatever, but I don't need to go through this right now. You should install it. Anyways, going further, we now need the actual ImGui files, and I'll show you some things here. So if you search ImGui GitHub or go to the link down in the description, you have everything there. This is the main ImGui GitHub, the original one. We have, it's made by Okernaut, or however you do pronounce his name. He's a great guy for making ImGui. This is present almost everywhere, but you will see ImGui here and many files here. You don't yet know what they do. Don't worry about it, we'll go through them. All you have to do is go here to releases and download the latest one. So a bunch of text here telling you what has changed, but you're gonna go here to assets, drop down menu, and you're gonna get the source code as a zip. So here we have ImGui 191.9. All you have to do now is extract this folder to your desktop. And there are two main things that we need to know here. We do have all the ImGui files, which if you were to include in an already existent project, you would get these files here and the corresponding backends. We're gonna use Win32 and DirectX 11. But I'm gonna teach you that in the next video. So in a separate video, you will see how to include ImGui in your own project, because I don't feel like I should teach you this here. It's gonna make the video very long, and I'll teach you this separately. Today I'll teach you only the ImGui part and teach you how to use it and what it does. So we are going to instead go to examples here, where you have examples, already built examples for you for each backend. And what we can do is, to be a bit more cleaner, we're gonna delete every example here besides the DirectX 11 one, which we're gonna work on. So I'm gonna click delete, and this SLN file, if you don't know, is the Visual Studio solution. So this will open, it's like a project file, it will open all the files in the project, and you'll see. So double click this, it's gonna be open with Visual Studio. Now you should trust this folder here, or actually you should trust the parent folder ImGui, and you're gonna click trust and continue because it has been downloaded from the web. It's gonna show one or more projects in the solution were not loaded correctly because we deleted them. And if you see this retarget project here, make sure to leave the Windows SDK version latest installed version. And as platform toolset, if you have the option, upgrade to V143. This was probably made on 142 or older. There should be no harm in upgrading it to 143. So you're gonna click OK, and it's gonna load. You don't need to sign in right now. It's gonna load all the things here, all the solutions we deleted. So we're gonna delete the solutions from here as well, and we're gonna leave only the DirectX 11 one, which as you can see is loaded without a problem. So you're gonna click delete here, remove the items, And you can open now example Win32 DirectX 11, and you're gonna open sources and main.cpp. You also have ImGui here. These are the files you need if you want to include it in your project. First thing first we should do is change here the build mode to release, so it goes a bit faster and we don't have any issues. We're gonna change from debug to release. And if you have any errors out of the start, you can go here and retarget your projects back to an older platform toolset, but that means you would also have to install that platform toolset from your Visual Studio installer. So first things first, you see a lot of code here, and I'm going to go through the code a bit. But before doing that, you should always just do a quick build to make sure it works and you don't have any issues. And you should not have any issues. It's going to generate, it's going to open this command prompt, and because of Windows security, the actual ImGui app might take a bit to launch the first time until it scans for the exe. So as you can see, it opened. We have a Win32 window here in which we have ImGui rendered. You can get rid of this window, and I do have a video on my channel explaining how to get rid of the window. I have many videos on my channel. So after this complete course, I really do think you should go and browse through the endless videos on my channel which show you how to add icons or fonts or things a bit more complicated than what I'm teaching you today, and that will help you dive into the more complex stuff. So besides the basics, you can learn how to add fonts and stuff, which I'm not gonna show you in today's video because I already have videos on those topics. So make sure to check the rest of the videos on my channel. Enough with the promoting, let's get back in. So this is gonna be your example. This is ImGui. The big blue window is the Win32, and that won't show in your applications. You will just get the overlay, but we're not gonna remove it for now because we have no need to do that. So this is your main ImGui window. This is how it looks, and the demo window, which shows you everything you can do with ImGui, but I'm also going to show you that, so that's not really an issue. We can close this, and we can close this as well. So we can search for the demo window, and we can turn this to false, so it doesn't show the demo window. And here, ImGui is basically beginning, it's starting, it's doing all of its stuff. Here we have the data needed by it, we have the devices, the render targets, the Windows process, so basically you don't need to worry about this, the complicated stuff that ImGui does on its own. And here we also start the window with the Win32, we do that blue window you've seen, and then ImGui starts. And one thing you need to know about ImGui, everything is rendered in a loop. So what you see is rendered in every tick. So basically many times per second, I think 25. But many times per second. So everything you do will be inside this while here. So everything you render, everything you show should be inside the while loop. So we have the message here. You don't need to change any of this. You should let them exactly how they are. And here we can see the actual ImGui start. We have the Win32 and the DirectX 11 frames and the ImGui new frame. And here we have the Windows itself. So between the ImGui render and the ImGui new frame, between these we work. Outside of this, we should not touch for now, unless you know what you're doing. I'm gonna delete the another window here because we don't need it. And I'm gonna also delete the show demo window because we also don't need that. And the comments here. Now you already have some comments which show you the very basic stuff. And I'm gonna delete the main window as well. And I'm gonna show you how you should do it. If you want to stay a bit, every window must begin and end, whether it's a main window or a child. ImGui needs to know when that window begins and when it ends. So we're gonna type ImGui Begin. Every possible ImGui element will be in the ImGui namespace. So we will usually start with ImGui ... begin. So if we look at begin, it takes the following arguments. It takes the name of the window, the state of the window, and flags. Flags I'm gonna show you a bit later, or actually, you know what, I will show you the flags right now. Let's give it a name, which will be a constant char, and let's say my ImGui app. I'm sorry if you hear my keyboard, it's gonna be pretty loud, but I don't have another one. After that, we need a bowl, which is gonna be open or closed. So we can create this bowl here. This way, if we change that bold, we can hide or show the window. Make sure any kind of variables you create to be outside the loop. If they are not outside the loop, then you won't be able to change them. They will be forever initiated as their value, and they will become unusable. But again, this is your C++ basic knowledge, I shouldn't tell you this. So bool opened true, and now we can use that variable here to keep our window opened or closed depending on the state of that variable. And then we have ImGui window flags. These flags specify what things should or should not happen in your window. So for now we can leave it empty, and let's add the ImGui end. Otherwise it will spit out errors. And if you want to be a bit more organized, you can add an if statement, something like this, if ImGui begin, so you can have everything inside brackets, or however you call these in English, and you can end it the same, just end it after your code. So if we run the local Windows debugger now, so I can show you directly on the application, we need to disable the antivirus. This will be incredibly annoying if we don't. Here we go. Okay, this is our window now. It's empty because I haven't added anything to it, but you're gonna notice some things. First of all, you can collapse it, which we're missing an end. Alright, it's been some time since I've done this stuff. It might need to be after the if statement. So you're gonna notice we can collapse it, and we can close it from here, we can resize it, and we can move it, and much more. These are all flags. These are all things we can disable or enable using the window flags. And similarly, you're gonna have child flags and flags for many things. There are many flags in ImGui. We're gonna close this for now, and here you can type, by example, ImGui window flags underscore no, let's say no collapse. So what do you think this will do? Well, it's not gonna let you collapse the window anymore. So we have the same window as before, but the option to collapse it is non-existent now. Same thing if you say no move or no resize, then it's not gonna let you move or resize the window. You can add more flags by using a vertical line. So now I can type ImGui ImGui window flags. It's been some time since I worked with ImGui as well. No resize. So we have 2 flags, you can have 10 flags or 15 flags, and now our window is not resizable anymore. So how great is that? Anyways, once we've done this, one thing you should know to do is set a size for your window. Before starting any window, you have the option to set the size or the position of their window by doing ImGui set next window size, or set next window pos, which stands for position. So if we do set next window size or set next window position, it's gonna ask for a constant ImVector2 size and some conditions which are by default 0, you don't need to change that. What is ImVector2 and things like ImColor and etc., they are structures. So we can create an ImVector2 here just to show you. ImVector2, if we go to the definition, is simply a vector 2. It's a structure containing an x and a y, and you can also have ImVector4, which is usually used for colors. This will have x, y, z, and w, which stands for RGB and opacity, but I'll explain that later because it's not directly RGB. You're gonna have to divide it by 255 to get the float values. I'm gonna explain that later. But for now, we need to know that for the next window size, we take as an argument an ImVector2. So you're gonna open an ImVector2 and type the x and the y of your window. So what you want the width to be, that's the x, and what you want the height to be, that's the y. And I'm gonna make my window 400 by 600. So it's gonna be an ImVector2, x is 400, y is 600. And if we run it, here as is our 400 by 600 window. And actually, I meant to do it 600 by 400. I don't want it to be tall. Here we go. So this is our window right here. So we need to begin with some elements now. The most basic ever elements in ImGui which you need when building any possible app are the buttons, the checkboxes, the sliders, and the combos. I'm gonna teach you more things than this, but right now we're gonna start with the basics, and that would be buttons, checkboxes, floats, sliders, which can be float sliders, in sliders. I'm gonna show you when we get to them, and there can be combos. So how does a button work? Incredibly simple. You simply have to have an if statement. Inside the if statement, we will have if ImGui button, and what this function will return is basically if the button is clicked. You can see if we go to the definition of the button here, that it's basically gonna return if it's pressed or not. So that's why we use an if statement. So if the ImGui button we just created is also pressed, and because this works, as I said, in every tick in a loop, every time you press it, that if is gonna run, and in the next tick it won't be pressed anymore, blah blah. And the button only asks for one argument, which is the label, and an optional argument of the size if you want to change the size of the button. So first of all, let's give it a name. Let's say my button, and whatever you place inside this if will happen when the button is pressed. So if we run the local debugger now, a wild button will appear. So let's say you also want to have a custom size for your button. We're gonna do like we did with the next window size, and we're gonna put as an argument an ImVector2 of 100 by 100. Just an example. And now your button will take the size that you given to it. So it's gonna be 100 by 100. I'm gonna delete this because it looks ugly, and we are gonna let it exactly like this. So whatever you have inside this if will happen when the button is pressed. That's gonna be on you. I can give an example right now, but it's not needed. Whatever instructions are here will happen if the button is pressed. So the next thing is the checkbox. Checkbox is similar, but it stays on or off, and the value will be placed obviously in a bool variable, because a checkbox can either be on or off, true or false. So let's create a bool checkbox outside the loop, and let's say set it to false. And now if we want to implement a checkbox, we are no longer gonna need to use an if statement. We're just gonna say ImGui checkbox. We're gonna give it a name like we did for our button, and let's say my checkbox. And we have another argument we need to give it, which is the bool. So we need to reference the bool we just created, which will hold the value. So it's gonna be, I even forgot how I named it, but I think checkbox. And that's it. One line, you have your checkbox. So if we run the project right now, we're gonna have my checkbox, which you can turn on or off. ImGui is simply a UI library, so it's responsible for the UI. What you do with that value afterwards, it's your thing, it's your job. So right now that bool is still false inside the program's memory, and when we click, it's now checked. Now that bool variable is true. So you can act accordingly and do whatever you want in your program. If that variable is true, that means someone pressed my checkbox. Now, I know I'm explaining things very slowly and in depth, so this might be annoying if you already know C++ quite well and you just want a fast introduction to ImGui. Then I will probably make another video, or actually you should watch my other short videos on the specific matter you want to learn, but this is a tutorial for literally everyone which knows at least the variables in C++ and stuff. So that's my point. I hope I'm not annoying anyone. The next thing we're gonna have to implement, and the next big element which will be used in our program, are the sliders. This will store custom values inside variables like int and floats for numbers, and that's gonna be again very easy to make. So let's do two variables which will hold two different numbers. Let's do a float value1, and we're gonna give it the value 0.1, and let's do an int value2, which will have a value of 1, because int is a whole number. And what we're gonna do now is use ImGui slider, and you see you have different sliders here, but what we're gonna use now is either slider float or slider int. So we're gonna start with slider float, and you're gonna see we have more arguments than we had until now, and I'll explain what these arguments mean. First of all, we're gonna have the label, which you're gonna type my float slider or whatever name you want to give in your program. Then you're gonna reference the variable holding the value, which will be value1 for our slider. And then you have a vmin and a vmax. What this means is the minimum value and the maximum value your slider should go to. So let's say I want a minimum value of 0.0 float and the maximum value of 100 float, 100 units, but you get it. So if we now run this code, we're gonna have a float slider set at 0.1 because we initialized our variable with 0.1. This slider can go to the vmin of 0.00 and can also go to the vmax of 100. If we change the vmax or the vmin, we basically change the interval in which this slider can go. Very basic stuff, very basic stuff. We can do exactly the same for the slider int now. We're gonna give it a name. Let's see, my int slider. And we also give it, we're gonna reference the value2 int variable we've done. And we can have a v minimum and a v maximum. So again, this will be 0 and 100 or whatever you need. But now we're gonna see we don't have numbers with digits. We now have full numbers between 1 and 100. we don't have real numbers anymore, we have full numbers. English is still hard. Okay, so again, it can go to maximum 100 and minimum 0 because that's how you set it. And I shouldn't say this, but obviously the value which is selected by the user here goes directly into the variables we've made here, and based on them you act accordingly. And the last thing I want to show you, actually it's not the last thing, I forgot to include something very important, but it's alright because you will follow the video, so you'll find out, is the combo. It's basically a drop-down list where you can select one thing from more. You're gonna see in a second. We're gonna need two variables for a combo, and we're gonna need first of all a constant char with your items, and this can be, here you should have all the items in your list, and you're gonna type them like this as a constant char. You can have, I don't know, item 1, then you're gonna have item 2. You can have as many items as you want. I will type 3 items here just to show you. So this is the item, and you also will need a int variable that will hold the current selected position of your combo. So I'm gonna go int current equals to 0 for now, which will mean I think the first position is selected, so item 1. So what we need now is going to type ImGui combo. Well, should be, you can also begin combo, end combo, but today we learned the simple stuff. So ImGui combo, and it's gonna ask you again for some arguments. So first things we're gonna do, first thing first, yeah, we're gonna give it the, my headset is off, okay. We're gonna give it the name of the combo, so my combo doesn't matter. You can also give it no name, but if you don't have to have any name, or you want to add it manually somewhere else. But if you have no name on any of these things, either the name or the name of the elements, even if you don't want to have any name, you need to have an ID. So what you're going to do is you type hashtag, so hashtag twice, and then whatever you type here, it's going to be the ID of that specific element. You always need to have an ID so you can reference it. So if you don't want to have any text, you still need to have an ID. Type it with 2 hashtags before, and the text won't be shown, but you will have an ID. For now, I will leave it with text. It's going to be my combo. After that, you need to have the current item, which will be the current item. So we're gonna reference current, and then you have the items separated by zeros, or the constant char, and you need to have here the char we've created, which is this one with the items. You're gonna reference items. And now it's also gonna ask for the, I think it doesn't ask anymore. It used to ask for the array size of the items, I believe. Right? I'm pretty sure that's what it does. Oh, here we don't, yeah, because the constant char already is, here we go. So don't reference it, just type items. And in theory, you should also add I'm array size of items. So by doing this, you get the, you dynamically get the array size of items, and if you change it here, if you add or subtract items, you don't need to worry about the implementation here if you run the local Windows debugger. Now, I don't understand Windows security scanning the program again, but we're gonna have the combo here, and you see item 1 is selected. When you select item 2, the current variable switches to 1, you know. So when you are on position, it changes the position of current to 1, 2, 3, depending on what item you've selected. Item 1 is 0 because, again, in C++ the count starts from 0. But that you should know. So these are the most basic elements in ImGui, but there is one more element which is, well, the most basic of them all, and is basically ImGui text. This is to simply display text, and it also has one argument. It only has one argument, which is the text you want to display. So ImGui text with a constant char as an argument will display whatever text you want inside the window at the place you put it. So item, blah blah blah, and then the text. For some reason my antivirus got magically re-enabled, even though nobody enabled it. So these are the basic things of ImGui and the basic elements of ImGui. Now you need to know that you can also have something like ImGui set pos or set cursor pos, and this is if you want to space elements, if you want to put them down, up, right, left, wherever you want inside the window, so not outside, inside the window. Let's say I want my button to be on the right side, right? We can use ImGui set cursor pos and you can set the position, the starting position of the button to on the X axis, on the Y axis, on or both of them. Now we only want to change the X, so we can use ImGui set cursor pos X. This is very important, and if we want to set the position like 200, this should never be done by using values. It should be done dynamically, because let's change the no resize and I'll show you. So if we done this, we are setting the start of the render of my button to an X of 200. So it doesn't start here anymore, it starts here. So you can see our button is, well, not in the middle. But what will happen is if we resize my window, nothing happens, the button stays there, it's not dynamically. So this is an issue, right? You can solve this easily. This is not related to ImGui, but I'm gonna tell you, you can solve this easily by referencing the window size. So you can get things like, I believe, yeah, so ImGui get window height or width will get you the width of the current window you are in. So if you want, you can set the cursor position X of the button to the hold width minus the button size, which I'm pretty sure you can get by doing ImGui get size or something. I'm not sure what the size is, but you can also use ImGui calculate. Oh, you can use calculate item width or calculate text size, and you can go calculate text size of my button, because the button will be, you know, as long as the text is. So you can do my button, and you can also need to subtract some padding, but let's see what doesn't. Oh, so we can, so what happened here, right, is we were trying to subtract from a float, because we are not getting an ImVector2 here, because we are only changing the X position. So the X position is simply a float. If we wanted to change the full position, then it would have asked us for a vector2, but we're only trying to change the X. So then we're gonna get the window width, which is gonna be the X of the window, right, not a vector2, and then we need to subtract from it the same variable type. So we need to subtract a float. Calc text size is not a float, is a vector2, but we can reference only one value from that vector by using .x or .y or something from that vector. So if we have, quick break here, if we have an ImVector2 now, and we name it A, and it's equal to, oopsie, it's equal to 200 and 300, we can reference only one value from that vector by doing a dot x, and this will be a float which has the value of 200, or a dot y, which is going to be a float which has the value of 300, but this is common knowledge and should be common knowledge. If you know a bit of C++, I shouldn't teach you this. So by doing this, we get the window width minus the calculate text size of my button, and it should be aligned on the right side. Here the button is a bit bigger than the text itself, so we can maybe subtract another 3 or 4 pixels or whatever from it. Let's say something like 10, or you should just add the padding. But now the button is to the right aligned, and if I change the size of the window, the button stays there. Now you might see that I'm unable to change the size of the window. That's because the set next window size here is in a loop, is inside the while loop, and it will constantly set the size to 600 and 400, and you are unable to resize it. So if you don't want it to be in a loop, get it outside of the loop. If you want, by example, to have your thing in the middle, you can, let's say you want to center something in the middle. Let's see why you want to center the text. So let's get this thing here. Let's do this text in the middle of the window. How would we do this? The set cursor pos x is setting the coordinates of where the text or the element begins to render. So by doing get window width and dividing it by 2, it will start to render the text in the middle of the window, but the text won't be centered. So what we should do now, in order to center something, we could subtract from this. So right now we begin to render at the middle of the window, but this will not center the text, it will be uncentered. So we can subtract from this the ImGui calculate text size, calculate text size, and we can calculate the x of the text. So how long is the text in pixels in x? So calculate the text size of the text, this is a bit ambiguous, I'm sorry. We're gonna put .x, and this is also not finished. This will also not be centered, because now we're gonna subtract the whole text. We only need to subtract half of it. So by doing this little thing here, we now have a subtracted text. So I can show you this in Paint. Here is our window. I'm gonna make it black because my eyes hurt. Here is our little window, and when you only say to begin rendering at half, so let's say we only have the part get window width by half, it's gonna begin drawing here, and it's gonna say the text here, and it's not gonna be centered. When you say minus the text size, it's gonna begin to render somewhere here, and it's not gonna be centered at all. In order to be centered, you need to also take the middle of the word, and now it's gonna split it perfectly. So from this, it will have minus 1/2 of the text. It's gonna start rendering somewhere here, and it's gonna have the text perfectly centered. Now, I'm not very good at explaining maths. I'm not the greatest kid in school, so sorry if this explanation was also a bit ambiguous, but this is how you can align things to the right or center them, and you can do this with basically any type of element, like text combos, slider in, slider floats, images later on, and so much more stuff. And this is how you can dynamically do it, because if you do it with pixels, then the first time you change the size of the window, it's gonna break and it's gonna look awful. So always set your positions and your sizes dynamically. You can do this also for size. If you want a window to be dynamically sized in proportion to your resolution. Because if you don't, if you set your window like I did here for the tutorial to 600 by 400, it will look much smaller on a bigger resolution than it looks on full HD. So if someone with a 4K monitor wants to open this, everything will look much smaller. So always dynamically do it. And you can search on the internet how to get your screen size and width and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not gonna do that now. So I've already explained window flags. I don't need to get into that. And now we are gonna get into styles. How do you style your window? How do you make it look good or bad? How do you change colors and things like rounding, padding, and so much more? First of all, let's get out of the loop. Although the style will be run in the loop, let's get outside of the loop and let's create a void, because we'll have many instructions here to craft our style. So let's go a void and let's say my style. And here inside the void, we first need to get the ImGui style. You can type ImGui style like this. Let's name the variable style, and we're gonna use the function by ImGui get style. This is the first thing we have to do. After that, we can access style for different kind of stuff which we would need. For some reason, it expects something, which I'm unsure why. I think my IntelliSense is broken. Let's say if I stop the debugger, this should be alright. 2 seconds. Alright, it's no issue, it's just I'm incredibly tired. You should not try to create a void inside the int main. So go outside the int main completely, and now everything should be alright. Oh, I'm tired. Alright, basic mistake, it happens. So we got the style variable, and now we can use style to access the things we need. So by using style dot, you can access the sizing, things like frame padding, item spacing, and frame rounding, right? This is the simple values. You should know what padding means and spacing and stuff. Here you can change proportions and how the things are displayed. So this has nothing to do with colors, right? You can do it style, frame, rounding by example, and give it a float value. Let's say something bigger, like a 20, so you can see what I mean. And well, it's not gonna work because we have not placed this void anywhere. So let's run my style inside our loop right before displaying our window. And you're gonna see now everything is rounded. My checkbox is rounded, my button is rounded, my slider is rounded, everything is rounded. So you can play with this, find your perfect values. Don't forget to include your void if you want what's happening inside it to actually be ran. So we're gonna leave this as an example here on 0.0f. You're gonna also have the download of this example in the description if it helps you at all. But this is how you do the proportions and the values. And let's jump into the more interesting stuff, which is colors. So for this is very easy as well. You just type style.colors, and inside the parentheses you need to specify the color of what. Everything begins with ImGui underscore, and then you have here tons of stuff you can customize. But let's start with the button. So style.colors of ImGui button, we're gonna change the color of the button, and there is also colors like ImGui button pressed, so or hovered. When the button is pressed or hovered, you can have different colors. But let's have style.colors of ImGui button be equal to ImVector4. Now, ImVector4 is not RGB. You can't type here 255, 255, 255, blah blah blah. You need to have a float value between 0 and 1. So how do you do that? Well, let's go here and let's type a color picker. We need a random color picker. Let's see. Let's say we want our button to be red. It's an easy color. We're gonna go with 255, 250. Well, no, let's get another color so I can show you properly. The RGB of that color is 193, 60, and 60, but ImVec4 does not use RGB. Some color pickers have it directly. This one doesn't, so I'll show you how to get it. You pull up a calculator. Actually, we're not gonna do that. Copy the RGB values into your Visual Studio. Paste them here. Well, without this RGB in front. If you run it right now, you will notice what I'm saying, that it's not gonna work. What do you have here? Oh, it needs, okay, 255. It needs the opacity as well. You can have opacities with ImVec4 if you want to be transparent, but you will see the button is white. Why? Because we need to divide these values by the RGB max of 255 in order to get that interval, the 0 and 1 interval. So we're going to divide everything by 255, and as you can see, 255 will now be 1, which is the maximum, and now it should be completely red, but it's not. It's black. What did I change? So again, you can see that I haven't touched C++ in long because I was sick. If you divide an int by an int, the result will be an int. So it got me 0 every time. Make sure to include .0f on at least one of the two values for each one of these, and now without any problems it will be the shade of pink or red we got. And you can see when I hover it or press it, the button changes in color, and that's because you can also do style.colors of ImGui button hovered, and you can change this to, I don't know, color now. Let's go something darker. I'm gonna copy this so it's easier, and let's get something darker like this, maybe, and paste it here. And don't forget to divide them by 255, so 0.6 f divided by 255, make them floats and divide it by 255. And now if we run this, you can see when we hover it, it gets darker. So this is the basics of designing. From here you can choose the things yourself, and I know there's a GitHub repository which I'm gonna leave in the description. I don't know if I can find it now, but if you search for ImThemes, I think this is. It's a very, very cool program which you can download in a few seconds. You have an items.zip here. I need to show you this because this will help you a lot. If you make a folder here and extract the program, very, very interestingly, you have many pre-made themes for you here, which will help you a lot because it's quite a lot to do a theme. So you can choose a theme you want from here. Let's say I want to choose, should we make the video cherry? Let's do the video cherry, or the cherry theme. I'm not sure what theme I want to use. You have many themes here, and let's do a cool black one. So it's Adobe inspired, or comfortable dark cyan. I like this. So it's dark and it's rounded. Interesting, you click here to get it, you go to C++, and here you have the whole void. So just copy the things you have inside the void and paste them in your void here. And depending on the depending on your ImGui version being different from their ImGui version, you might have a few things which are not the same anymore. Delete those or do something else with them. So here's our very basic ImGui app already starting to look somewhat decent. Now, I don't like the rounding, so you can simply delete anything set everything related to rounding on 0. So child rounding is gonna be 0. Window rounding, if you have, let's put this also to 0. And now I'm not sure if there are any more. Oh yeah, we have frame rounding there. But this already looks better. This already looks better. So I'm gonna leave it like that for now. So this is styling, and it's very, very important. And now you know all the basic stuff. And what I want to go into, although I have a separate video on this, but what I really want to go into, because it's gonna help you a lot to make your window look better, I want to show you in today's tutorial how to add a font, because it's incredibly easy. So in my video on my channel, you can see how I add fonts using bytes, so directly from memory. Today I'll show you how to add it using a TTF file somewhere on your computer. So we're gonna pick a random font. You can download any font from the web, the whole wide web, but we're gonna get a font here from Windows, just for a, you know, I think there should be here, A, B, C, D, E, F, fonts. So here we have fonts, we have many fonts, and let's pick a nice looking font. We're gonna pick Impact Regular. So this one should be, let's say its properties, it's impact.ttf. So it's incredibly simple to add fonts. Go here where you have all the load fonts stuff. You can delete these comments, they will help you also, but you can delete them for now. And what you're gonna do is get the IO, if you didn't already somewhere else. ImGui IO is equal to ImGui get IO, I believe. And after you have the IO, you're gonna go imfont, and you should have a variable where you load the font so you can push it later, and I'll show you that. So just say custom font and put it to be, now you're gonna use the function to add a font from a file. You can also do it from bytes, and I'll show you. IO fonts, arrow, and you're gonna say add font from, and you have here from memory TTF or file TTF. We're gonna go with file TTF now, and you need the full path of the file. So we're gonna go, if it's not in the same file as if it's in the same folder as the exe, then you should directly say impact.ttf or your name. But we are gonna go C, Windows, fonts, and impact.ttf, and you're gonna specify the size in pixels, which I'm gonna go for something generic like 18. After you've done this, you should also, well, we shouldn't do anything. This is all. If you want, for debugging purposes, you can do if custom font equals to null pointer. You can throw out an error and say here, I don't know, fail to load font. But again, this is not needed, this is for debug purposes only, and I haven't included your stream. Okay, so you can throw this error. If you want to actually use the font instead of the default one, now because it's only one, it will probably be used. I don't remember how ImGui does these things. Let's see, we have an error here. Oh, we have a multiple. Okay, we had already configured the IO, so we can delete it here. No issues. Now, because we only have a single, okay, so it could not load the font file, it could not load impact.ttf, so let's I'm not sure why not. Maybe the path is wrong, or the file name is wrong. If we can't load it, yeah, we can't load it. Okay, we're gonna get another font and have it in the same file. So let's search for here we go. Let's search for impact.ttf on the web. You can get any font you wish. Let's download it. Hopefully it lets us download it without... Okay. Here we go. Impact font, and we're gonna get impact.ttf. Copy this. Let's go into our... we can close this example. We should close it from here. Let's go to our... We can also close the themes. Let's go to our ImGui examples, example, and here in release we have the DirectX11, and we can place here the impact.ttf. Make sure to click and install the font if you are choosing custom fonts you don't already have. And now theoretically we should have no issues using impact. I cannot understand this thing. Really cannot understand this thing. Okay. What was I saying about being tired? Is TTF, not TFF. And still cannot load the file. Jesus. Okay, so there was an issue with the font, because when you run the local Windows debugger, I don't think it runs it from there or something. It didn't see the file, but with correct spelling and correct path, we can load the font from Windows fonts impact.ttf, not TFF. And as you can see, my ImGui app now has the font, the correct font, right? So it now has the correct font without issues. And if you want to have multiple fonts, or if you want to have that font only in a specific region of the app, you can go ahead and type ImGui push font where you want your app to start using the font, and we're gonna go custom font, and where you want your app to stop using that font, you're gonna type ImGui pop font. Now make sure you always pop when you push, else you get problems. Now we're gonna have the same result, but basically this is your app. Now we've been through most of the stuff, so any harder things, any more complex things, you can find in individual videos in my channel, because it's best that way. I'm not gonna teach in a single video many complicated stuff, because I will lose you, but this is, let's say, the most basic stuff when you get started with ImGui, and with these things you can use you can make great stuff. Now I did want to say, I want to teach you one last thing, which this is not something incredibly useful as I show it to you, but this is the start of many custom things, and you can go ahead and use a draw list in order to draw some stuff. So you can go ahead either in your window or outside, whatever you wish, go ahead and do draw list. This is for custom objects with custom parameters. So do something like draw list equals to ImGui get window draw list. And by doing this, let's also initialize an ImVector to the position of that window. It's gonna be ImGui get cursor screen pos. Should be get cursor screen position. And now we have where to start drawing at the start of the window. And by using draw list, you can do all kinds of interesting stuff. So you're gonna use the variable we created, draw list, and you can add all kinds of shapes. You can add triangles, you can add text, you can add rects, which are squares. Well, how do you say them in English? I have no idea, but you can add squares or rectangulars or whatever. You can also add images from here and all kinds of stuff, and here you add them with your exact parameters. So let's do a rect field multicolor, so a gradient. Let's do a square with a gradient, and first of all you're gonna have pmin and pmax. So we can go an ImVector2 of this is the minimum, so where it starts to render it and where it ends the render, right? So pmin is the place where the square begins to draw. Pmax is the square where where it ends to draw. You're gonna see these things later on. Px plus 50, let's say here, and p.y, get the y plus 50. And now for the max, let's say we want to have the size of 100, so we can copy this and just add 150 to each instead of 50. And we need to add more things. We need to have a color upper left, upper right, bottom right, and bottom left. I'm U32, so I'm call 32, I think is this, or I'm U32. This, okay, so it's gonna be I'm underscore color 32. This is the type of variable you need to add. This is straight up RGB, so you can go ahead and type 255, 255, 255, 255. Let's go all the colors. Let's go red, green, and blue. So we need 4 of these here. Let's see how it will. It won't look good, but it will be useful for the video. Let's go in the second one, 255 here and 0 here. Let's go in the third one, 255 here and 0 here. The last one, the opacity, always. And let's go for this one, 255 and 255. Let's see how it looks. Opacity, you can change if it's transparent or not. At 255 it's not transparent at all, at 0 it's invisible. And here we go. We have a window here with our square, with our very cool, very cool square. So again, at 50 from the start and ending at 150, well, the coordination, the position, the blah blah blah, we have a custom shape drawn using ImGui. It's a square because we wanted it to be a square, and you can change the resolutions obviously, but this is how you can use colors. And if you want to be one single color, then you're gonna just use add rect field. So this is how you can also do gradients and all kinds of cool stuff, and I have videos on these. You're gonna use this draw list if you want to have custom elements like your own custom checkbox or your own custom gradient buttons, and for that you do have tutorials on my channel. But what I want to say is thank you guys a whole lot for watching. Thank you for reaching the end. I think you're amazing if you reach the end, and I do truly hope that I managed to help you today. I do truly hope that I managed to show you how you can do all the basic stuff in ImGui and how to succeed in creating your first little overlay, your first little app. And I hope it will be the start of a great journey. So I can't wait to see your projects, and I really advise you to join my Discord and send me. I look at the messages all the time. Just send me your work, and if you need help, I'm there as well, and many other C++ coders are there. So thank you again so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment something, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.